Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today, I want to explore with you approaches to learning and what that means. Well, your approach to how you learn largely determines how successful you will be with learning. Let's look at a few examples of different approaches. Let's talk about student A. Let's call him A. Okay. His approach is to make money. He wants to get a better job. He's already making a nice salary, but he feels that with English, he can earn more. Let's talk about student B. Her approach to learning English is that she wants to help people. She's not too concerned about money or where she goes or what she does, but she simply wants to learn English in order to help other people. She likes the idea of the international community, and she spends time online and outside interacting with people such as refugees and others from other countries. And then there's student C, the academic, the linguist, the person who just loves languages. And also in the consciousness of student C, there may be strong views of politics. Perhaps the person will work for a governmental organization, will have come from a very nice university, and wants to learn to help the world in an academic way, by negotiations, by talking to governments, by going down the traditional route of politics. Now, those are three approaches by three different kinds of people. There's also the approaches that people who run language schools use, and that's usually more one of profit and survival. Let's talk about Language School A. Okay, so in Language School A, this is another example. Profit is the name of the game. They employ students who are there on a holiday, no contract, seasonal work, cash in hand. You say a few words in English, you talk through a book, you leave, you go back to your country. Language School B might be one that's working in an area where there is no money. There's no money for people to pay fees, so they operate a kind of a charitable trust. If you have no money, they'll let you in anyway. They know the area is very poor. They know that water is hard to catch, perhaps in a remote part of Africa or Arabia. But out of the goodness and charity of their hearts, they just try as much as they can to help people. This is a little bit similar maybe to one of the students we spoke about a moment ago. Then there's Language School C, which is part of a big conglomerate organization with set rules, with overheads, with a hierarchy, which largely defines what people learn all over the world. Everything is preset. It's a bit like going to a fast food restaurant. You get what's on the menu all over the world, and there isn't much of a way to change that. Information comes down from the hierarchy, but there's little way to pass information up. And Language School C is operated very much like any chain. Cost is at the top, customer satisfaction is there as well, but at the bottom there's a few disgruntled employees. Whatever's in your head about language learning, ideas such as making money or helping others and these things will largely determine how successful you are at learning the language you want. Now, I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but it's a matter of principle. There's an English proverb that says, wherever your heart is, that will be your home. There's another one which says about thinking. It says nothing is good or bad except thinking makes it that way. What I'm getting at here is you need to be very clear on your reasons for learning. Now, I'm not saying that making money is necessarily a bad thing. After all, it's needed to survive. But the higher your motive, the more successful you're going to be. So, for example, the idea of providing for your family and getting a better job is quite a noble ambition because it takes your thinking higher. And we as humans need ambitions. We need to be moving up and changing our views as we go. That's what happens to us as we get older. But that's a very different thing from declaring, I want more money, so I will learn English. This kind of ambition, which sounds a little bit brutal because it sounds like it has some brute force behind it, is going to reflect back on you when you start your English journey, because you're not really going to be so concerned about other people and how they feel. You're going to be more concerned about watching coins drop into your bank account as you begin to use your new language. So all I'm saying is you need to aim a little bit higher. When it comes to language schools, the same kind of thing applies. If you run a business ethically, then of course you're going to attract a lot of nice people and nice students. But if you run a business which is all about pennies, I'm not going to give you an English class if you can't afford it, if you can't afford to pay the highest price, then you may well run into difficulties with that kind of attitude. I know recently a friend of mine was talking about his business, his language school, which he operates in one of the Mediterranean countries. And for him, it's all about cash. But unfortunately for him, he's not always able to see how one season, for example, without students could actually benefit him. Let me give you an example. If I have times on Italki where I don't have any students, then I begin to lower my prices and I begin to say to people, look, just come. It doesn't matter what you can pay. Just choose one of the options. As an incentive, I would ask them to pay something. But my point is that I would rather teach and be busy, earning very little, than being in a position where I demand the highest prices and have no students. This brings you a loyal kind of group of people who realize that you actually care about them instead of forcing them to pay the top rate. I say this as an example because it seems to me that these days, because of our dependence on cash and because everyone's fairly wealthy, everyone's looking for money these days. So we've kind of sacrificed certain arts for the dollar or for the pound, whatever currency you use. It seems to me that we're perfectly willing to sacrifice quality in order to save a few pounds. And that's very noble if you want to save some money, but it doesn't really help with opening your mind up. The reason why we pay for things like English lessons isn't just because the teacher wants money, it's because It's about value. When you pay money towards something, it opens your mind. It gets you ready for studying because you've invested in that thing. And I don't just mean investing money, you're investing your thinking in that thing as well. And I think that's where the proverb comes from. In order to get something, you have to give. You have to. I think the correct phrase in English is you have to speculate to accumulate. So you have to be prepared to pay for something in order to get something bigger. It's just one of these spiritual laws that works in life. The more you give, the more you get, whether that's food, whether that's hospitality, whether that's paying for English lessons. So, just to wrap up this podcast, the more you lower your ambitions just to perhaps save a pound, the less you're going to get. You have to prove your principle. So if you really are wanting to learn English and it's for a noble cause like improving humanity or even improving your family life, that's all well and good. But if you're looking just at money and money for the future and money to provide for you, you're kind of getting off to a bad start there. Life doesn't work that way. If you rely purely on money, you can expect to see things like a fall in investments because money is not something that's stable to rely on. You need to set your sights a little bit higher, and with higher sights, you can have fairer and more purer ways of helping others. Now, this might sound a bit zealous and a bit hypocritical, but I'm only telling you this because you want to be the best you can be, and you don't want to lower that just for a currency. There's a lot of people out there who will never be as privileged as you are when it comes to being able to learn. And I think in the world that we live in, it's just very important to remember that. So I hope that you found this useful and will take time to reflect on your reasons for learning. Because trust me, if your reasons for learning are pure, you can expect to find more pure results when you begin. That's it from me. See you.